guys, it's Thursday morning and I'm in with my mate Scott. I am going to Sindlesham. He sent me the message last night, the address. Yet to just put it in my phone and find out where we're going. That's all the information we've got right now. Sindlesham. Coincidentally, it's kind of famous for its mill, Sindlesham Mill. It's out the back of Reading Way, so the river must flow through it. And just yesterday I was on the river, and it must be sort of like the same sort of river because they all connect up and go into the Thames from where we are. So yeah, let's go to work and find out what's happening and see if there's anything worth recording there. See you in a minute. Okay, so here we are inside the property. It's a little cottage. Ceiling's quite low. I'm assuming, I'm just waiting for Scott to turn up. This is a nice room to start, but we're in a bit of a state of all sorts of things going on. It's a bit treacherous out here. It's like the original plaster as the old, that's sand cement. It looks like there's a few bits and pieces. It used to be horsehair. I don't think this is ready to tackle today, but we don't know, do we? Just wait for Scotty to turn up before we get more instruction on what to do. What have we got here? So look, we've got some multi-finish, we've got some bonding, we've got some hardwall. I know Scotty is a big fan of mixing bonding and hardwall together. So yeah, let's just wait for him to turn up and then we'll get into it, shall we? It's going to be one of those jobs. Men everywhere, cane goes out. So, waiting for Scott, I'm going to make a start in this room. It looks like it's ready compared to everything else in here. So yeah, the property is pretty old. I've noticed there's some sand cement. This is sand cement in here because we can see where this coving has been removed and there's a scratch coat with sand cement. I noticed downstairs in the hallway there was horsehair, the old stuff that they used to use, so I'm assuming this house has been added to and knocked around and it looks like it's going to happen again to it. So, first things first, let's get some scrim up, shall we? Plaster scrim. Obviously goes over anywhere there's crack, like so, anywhere a plasterboard meets on a joint. And looks like there's been a bit of movement here, so we'll probably take the time to scrim these worse or cracks up. So let's get on and do that, shall we? Now, before we scrim up this corner here, which was going to start, look, some of the old residue, I'm not sure what that's been stuck up with. It's like some sort of tile adhesive or something. It's well worth popping all this off first, really, just tidying this all right up. First thing we're going to do. So coming along here we can see exactly what it was. Look, it was old polystyrene coving. You see it's old because it is actually, you know, polystyrene. You can see the balls in it. Polystyrene stuff these days tends to be high density stuff, so you don't get these balls. So that would have been done a long time ago. So here we go, look, we're starting to learn the room. I'm coming around here, taking off anything that's loose. And I've come to this corner, and this is actually caulking. Okay, it's like a filler, but as you can see it's very, very rubbery. And somebody has filled rather an extensive crack all the way down here and rounded that off a bit, so we're going to pop this out. You can see there's some nasty movement on there, so yeah, we're going to pop all this rubbery caulking stuff off, square this up because that's curling round. If we want to get a sharp edge on that, I mean, it's an old property, so what? Might be worth getting some resin in there. I mean, we'll scrim it up, but I kind of feel scrimming it up is the very least we can do with that one. Hopefully, the movement has happened. So we're scrimming up and we are learning the room already. Some attention's needed there. Okay, just on this door frame here, look, I've got quite a big gap. I'm sure it's due to a miscalculation at some point, and rather than get rid of the board or whatever, because it's in nice and tight this side, maybe the door frame went in afterwards and never had to pack out, who knows, but we've got this big gap there. And since we've been talking about expanding foam quite a lot recently, it's probably a good candidate to get some in there, but I haven't got any on me because it's too dangerous to have around the site due to addiction of foam. I'm a recovering foam addict, so we can't have any around. So what we've just done there is scrim that up, and that'll be good enough, because remember the architrave is going to come over depending how big it is, but it's probably going to catch all of that gap anyway, so any potential crack is going to be covered by the architrave piece of wood. And if they do want to get some foam in, because we can't do this in here yet because I'm assuming it's going to be an ensuite, so it looks like we've got some pipes for some showers and stuff, so I imagine there's some wires and pipes that need to go in here. Look, here we go, there's a lavatory. What's that going to be? Maybe a towel rail or something. Looks like the sink. So we're not touching anything in here for the moment. So if they want to get some foam in, they can afterwards, which will hold that frame a little bit more securely. Not that it's unsecure already.
Okay, it's voiceover time again because of the radio, but it's been brought to my attention we're going to get this ceiling done on this stairwell area whilst those boards are in, because we need to set up a scaffold in there later. So this is also the room we was in previously. That's going to be plastered today.
Knowing from a group of friends, you know, sort of thing.
Does he know Kez?
Yeah, we've been camping together now. It's what I mean. It's just that group of friends, Tina and all that sort of like,
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go, it's voiceover time again because of the radio the boys are playing. It's rather annoying because it takes me so much longer to edit video. I have to watch it and then go back and start talking all over it, and it is a pain when it comes to editing time. It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's just a job like that. Lots of noise, lots of men everywhere. It's the sort of jobs I don't like, especially if you're trying to record a video. So for you DIY guys, look, here we are knocking up a bag of multi-finish, and here we are scraping around the edges to allow the plaster to mix around a lot easier inside the bucket. We're using a lot of Scott's tools here because I couldn't be bothered to get mine out, and Scott's are already up there, and I believe that little bucket trowel is actually a brickish trowel with the end cut off of it with a grinder. And you can see now that the mixture is able to spin round. Now it's a little bit stiff, look, I just add a tiny little bit more water in the middle, and it should create a hole in the middle of the plaster and it'll suck that water down, and then it will start spinning around nicely inside the bucket and mixing thoroughly. At this point we are knocking the lumps out.
radio's just turned off, but now the multi-tool started up. So I've just laid this down. This is the second coat. Look how wet that is, and look at what a tidy condition it is. Straight, I haven't turned back round to flatten this in. This is what happens when you take the time to get a bit slower, but take the time to get it really flat with that really big 20x5 carbon steel trowel. Now, let's just have a recap of what we did. We knocked up enough, and we put the first coat on this. This has now had 2 coats. Then I knocked up separately, put the first coat on this. Then I knocked up again, and I put the first coat on this, and also with the same amount of gear left over from this bucket, I put the second coat on this ceiling, which hasn't been flattened in yet. Then I've knocked up separately again, and I've put this one on, laid this down. Now I've got time to flatten this in. And then I guess I'm going to go back, once I flatten this in, I'm going to go and check that ceiling out there. And if I get this flatter now, rather than leaving these trowel marks in, it's going to give me a bigger window of opportunity to get back onto it. So I'm going to get this flattened in, then I'm going to go and check that ceiling out there. If it's pulling in, then I'm going to start troweling it up with a wet brush. If it seems like it's hanging on, I'm going to get the second coat on here.
Okay, so using this large troweler, we're using the edge of the blade there, coming down, planing off, and then when we come back up, we're closing the trowel in a little bit, the angle of it, and smoothing. And see, we're taking off any high points, and the high points we take off, we wipe back on, and fill the low points, and work across the wall like so, which is the same for every wall and ceiling when you are flattening in.
Okay, so we just flattened that in, and it's holding quite nicely, and because we've got it in such a nice condition now, we can leave it for a little bit longer before we have to get back onto it. Now taking this, yeah, it's pulling in a little bit, so we're going to take a wet brush to it and we're going to give it a wet trail.
Okay, radio's on again, so it's voiceover time. So look at this dirty, great big wet brush. I don't use them. I prefer these smaller ones. They're much more delicate. So with the 20x5 carbon steel trowel, there's a little bit of residue on there. With the smaller brushes, that you can run them through the internal, and it doesn't damage the wet plaster so much. So we're just applying a little bit of water there. Then we're doing the same action as before, but we're flattening in. We're changing the angle of the trowel slightly, taking the high points off, and then using that residue to fill back in with the low points.
So what's going on here is this ceiling has just had its first flatten, and Scott has cleaned out my setting bucket, and I was going to use the dirty water because I don't know if you noticed that every time I was knocking back, knocking out new material, I was knocking back into the dirty water from the previous gauge. So if I have to start straight from scratch now, this is going to put quite a long time on this bit of wall. So what I'm probably going to do is double cheat on this, and I'll show you what I mean. Short, dense sponge float, and let's have a look over here how it works, because it's kind of almost ready to lay down, but we're going to do this. Plenty of water. Just show you quickly, and I've got to keep talking because the radio's playing, and I don't want a copyright strike. There we go. So we just bring it up. It buffs out all the ripples and livens up that top surface. Then we grab our trowel, which will be over here, and see we go from this texture. What I'm doing is very quickly, just for demonstration purposes, to this texture.
Okay, as forementioned, so that sponge float has livened up the surface, and we're now able to do the same thing where we're opening the trowel up, taking a little bit off, wiping it back on, and then filling the low areas. It's just pretty much the same, doing this all day long, flattening in plaster. It never changes. So this is going to be the second trowel, I think. I'm not too sure, I can't remember. I recorded this a few days ago, but I think I'm showing you here that we're using the Rafina Flex 2, which is a stainless steel trowel. Oh, there we go. That's what it looks like after we've used it. Oh, it's just going too fast. I can't get through it. So that's what it looks like before the Rafina. That's the carbon steel. See all the holes in it? All the rips. So there we go. We're using the same technique with the wet brush, and on a much thinner level, we are pushing that plaster back in. Now we can see what it looks like after the Flex 2 has hit it. See, with the Flex 2 is actually closes the surface in and gives it that little bit of a shine that everybody likes to see. And this is a little bit too early. You can still see the trowel marks, the actions in which I moved across the ceiling. So here we go, just for a final. So this is the last time I touch it, and because I can reach the ceiling from the floor, we are using this technique where we just run across, and we're not hardly doing anything here. All we're doing is closing the surface. So you see I'm walking back, applying a little bit of water. You don't need hardly any water now, and then coming back with the trowel opened up at the right angle and just planing off and closing that surface right in. Here's another angle just for the excitement of it. You can see a little bit more as the light's coming through what it's actually doing. Rubbing the water across, coming back, opening the trowel and just closing that surface back in. This is the residue we're getting out now, which is not good for anything. Here we're just taking this little inch brush and just for the final little bit across the internal, just using that to tidy that very corner right up. It really does make a difference. Look at that. And there we go, the ceiling is finished. And there's that one carpeted wall, which without a trained eye you will never see the difference that has only had one coat. That, my friends, was a very tedious video to edit. Just the sort of jobs, well, they are annoying anyway, but if you're trying to record a video, got guys everywhere. You've got electricians in there, you've got plumbers, you've got guys kangarooing things out, and the electrician's turning the electric on and off. There's a mate in the hallway, you can't get out the front door because he's on the ladder messing around with some wires in the ceiling and stuff. Yeah, it's a hive of productivity and activity, or like organised chaos. So yeah, that was a tedious video to edit. Now I get my spit guard out and microphones and stuff and do all the voiceovers. So you better like and subscribe that one. It was a pain to do. What's the day? It's Saturday morning. I'm up and editing this first thing, so it will be up. I'll get it up straight away, however long it takes to upload, and then I might get on and start editing another one, which is, I can't remember what it is at the moment. I'll have to get the footage off my phone and have a look, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be much easier to edit, and that will probably be up for Sunday afternoon. And yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? I've got a couple of jobs to go and look at today, and yeah, next week is, we don't know what next week's going to bring at the moment, so I'm sure a new video will be up very soon after the Sunday. So yeah, we'll just be back at it. Cheers for watching, guys. Take it easy.